I could be making noise right now, I suppose. I just like to do that countdown. Hi, this is Jason Brenizer. I am the host of the Phenomenal Future Project. I am live streaming right now. Today is day 29 in a row out of 365 days that I plan on doing videos on multiple platforms, and I am just getting started. Things are just rolling. You know, I talk a lot about what? Smart contracts, NFTs, the blockchain, Web3, online marketing, all for artists so they can take charge of their careers. I am supercharged about this. I have a technology background, I have an artist background. I'm finally able to mash those two parts of me together and be able to share that with people. It's affecting my own career, and I want to be able to share what I'm learning and putting out into the world for you guys so that you can have a phenomenal future that's lucrative and serves your fans at the highest you possibly can. That's what we're here for. Today, the topic is, I put together another framework here. I know that's just a fancy word for trying to give you a shorthand for something that's really complex, right? I've talked a lot about the different possibilities of what we can do with NFTs, what that looks like today, and also what that looks like in the far, far future. And I think me just, vomiting it up on the screen here as a talking head, it doesn't always sink in, right? People learn differently. Some listen, some want to, actually see the face and read facial expressions, and other people like to see some visuals and stuff. So today I put just together a little bit here to help you and to kind of give me a little summary to kind of follow so that it wasn't just so extemporaneous like a lot of these videos are. So let's hop right into it. Phenomenal Future Project. We have a podcast coming out soon. Lots of P's, as you can see. I just love it. I just love the PFP. It also stands for profile, proof for picture, photo. So many options with the P's, right? Proof for picture and profile picture. It's a term that a lot of people are throwing around for NFTs, hence our name. Let's go ahead and move right into the presentation here. So what we're going to cover today is the NFT launch, all the different types of launches that we can do. Let me get my little video here out of the way so you can read that. And I would say that there are 5 tiers of complexity, and you don't want to just start, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. You don't want to get in the middle of a project that bogs down, that you can't potentially afford to put in place, that maybe the technology isn't there yet to really do that. So I wanted to kind of go with from the easiest to the most difficult way that you can get an NFT series out there. So our little summary here, we're going to cover I'm going to set your reference frame, things to think about while we go through this. And then the 5 phases here, there's the simple art purchase, the raffle, the event ticket, the membership, and equity participation. And don't worry, we're going to get into more detail with those here on a few more slides. But let's go ahead and set that reference frame here. So there are many ways to view this Japanese term Kaizen, but today we're gonna take that and make it our own. Look, the deal is start small, start with something simple. This is good for anything in life. Start with one simple task, do it really well, or fail, and learn from it, and then apply that information, take another step forward, and continue that process. And eventually, if you stick with something long enough, and you have at least a little bit of capacity, you will become a master. And that's the idea. We're going to take it one small step at a time. All right. Now, let's keep a couple things in the front of our mind here. We're going to set a frame from which to view these 5 topics. So first, you're going to find that each phase overlaps and shares some traits, okay? So they're not mutually exclusive, And I separated them to make things even simpler for you to understand. But know that later down the line, you can start taking all of these little traits and kind of throwing them in a bag and mixing them together and make something that's very unique to how you want to interact with your fans. The second thing here is you don't necessarily have to do these in order. Okay, you might try the first one and then jump to the third one, because maybe that's by the time you get to your next launch, the technology has matured and there are a lot more people out there that can jump on board and help you get to that third one. All right, so you can leap ahead. But just know that anytime you try to take a giant leap over something, like when I was, well, you can get hurt. Okay, now you can you can hurt your reputation, which is harder to fix, or you can hurt your pride, which I think is a little bit easier to deal with. But reputation's a tough one here, and you know, the idea is if your fans have expectations for who and what you are, and you completely go against what you've been putting out in the world, you may alienate a lot of people. So that's something to be careful about. Now, look, when I was a kid, I remember being kind of fearless and stupid out in the country. I was with a friend of mine, one of my best friends, Chance, and we grew up in a small mountain town in Arizona. We used to go out into the wilderness all the time, and there was this one wash. I don't know if you've ever seen where, you know, if a storm comes through and it rips through all the earth, and you can have like, you know, just land that comes, and all of a sudden there's just like a cliff face down, you know, maybe even 10 feet, where it's almost just a vertical dirt face where all of that was ripped out of the wash. And I remember us, you know, trying to run and jump across, and we kept going to a wider and wider spot. And there was one day where I didn't quite make it all the way across the gap, and I landed with my hands on the top edge of that little, you know, little wash chasm, and well, my hands landed on a prickly pear cactus, and those spines were about yay long. That's what, 3.5 inches or something, huge. And a number of those spines went through the palm of my hand. And I remember us having to pull those guys out of the backside of my hand, because if you pull them the front way, you know, the way that they went into your hand, the barbs would get stuck. And so you kind of had to go all the way through. I don't want that to happen to you with your NFT series. I do not want you to land on a prickly pear cactus and go through all that pain. So that's why I'm here trying to give a lot of free content. You know, I'm doing a lot of exploration and trying to figure out what's possible and trying to boil that down for you guys. So just know that if you choose to try to jump ahead and take on a big project, it either may bog down or you may take a hit. And the last thing here, the details that I have on the next few slides are not exhaustive. I gave you some ideas of what can be done in each of these phases and kind of the traits that they have. But just know that we could cover a course that's 8 hours a day, 5 days, you know, in a row, and we would still have way much more possibility. Okay, now that's exciting because that means the world of NFTs and what you can do for your fans is huge, but it can also be daunting. So just want you to really, you know that there's a lot more that we can do. I'm just trying to give you some simple frameworks that you can wrap your head around this stuff, and maybe try to explain this to other people to enroll them into your project, because you may not have all the skills that you need to be able to you know, pull all this off on your own. All right, let's get to it here. Slide number one, phase number one is the simple art purchase, and that's what you see a lot right now. That's where a collector someone's going to buy, hold, trade, and sell your NFT And of course, if they're holding on to it, they may have purchased it because they love your art, but also because they love just being a patron of the arts, being a collector. And a lot of people right now are flexing out there with their, we'll call these luxury items, right? The simple art purchase. You don't really need it, do you, to survive? You're not going to eat this, you're not going to sleep on it, you're not going to drive it, and it's not going to fill your gas tank, but it certainly could fill your soul, which is pretty cool. The second thing here, a lot of people right now, especially early on in this NFT world, people are buying things thinking that the value is always going to go up. It's going to go up and appreciate like a house would appreciate. And that is not necessarily true. I would say 99% of the NFTs out there are going to lose massive value over time. It just won't hold that value. And that is just the way of the world. Now, of course, as we get to the more complex phases or NFT series types, probably they will hold their value a little bit more because there's an inherent utility behind it. Okay, so simple art purchase, we're not really looking at utility. Now, I'm going to throw this in there, this third thing here. There could be a simple blanket intellectual property license that's associated with this art. There are a few out there like this. The Bored Ape Yacht Club has done this with a number of their NFT series. And so you could potentially, say, put the image of that's associated with the NFT now on a t-shirt and go sell those t-shirts and make some money off of that. But that's, like I say, very simple blanket IP license and not something that's been too hashed over or thought through or very unique from one NFT series to another. That's why I call it simple. All right, the next phase here is the raffle or the giveaway. So the idea here is you could do a series of 1,000 NFTs with art associated with music associated with whatever, okay? People buy the NFT and you set up a very specific time frame that you would be doing a raffle, and maybe you have one, maybe you have 5 people that could potentially win out of 1,000. Now, that number is up to you, how many people would win. It can be a random selection of those 1,000. It could be merit-based. You could have them have to meet certain criteria to actually have a chance of winning. So it's not just purchasing the NFT, but maybe it's, tweeting about your NFT series 20 times in 10 days or something like that, right? Just some criteria that you set that they would have to meet. And of course you would have to track that, or your team would have to track that. So that's what I'm calling merit-based. Or you could have a golden ticket situation where the NFTs out of 1,000 get minted out of order, get minted randomly, and one of those you've already described as the golden ticket. Okay, so it has the NFT itself, the imagery probably would be very different from the others, and it would stand out. Okay, and so the one winner in that case, or the 5 winners, 3 winners, whatever it is that you've chosen, wouldn't have to do anything. It wouldn't necessarily be random after the fact. It would be whoever just happens to mint that golden ticket. Now, one thing about doing that type of picking a winner is that it's possible that if you are minting randomly, if the 1 through 1,000, someone buys the first NFT. Well, it's not necessarily the first NFT, right? It might be NFT number 427. Well, if that happens to be the golden ticket and it's the first one that gets purchased, then you have no incentive, very little incentive in a raffle or giveaway for anybody to buy the rest of the NFTs. So I just throw that out there because in this case, it's probably not the best choice. Yeah. Now, all of those 5 winners could be equal, and they could get the same experience that you're setting up, or the same products. Okay, a raffle might, in a giveaway, you might have 5 or 6 different things that you're going to give away. It might be physical products, and you're partnering with certain brands that make sense. If you're a musician, it might be giving away certain headphones and certain clothing that is associated with your personal brand or your band's brand. Okay, so that could be physical products that we're talking about. It could also be, if you're an artist, there could be digital experiences, right? That could go into a raffle or giveaway. And then you could, of course, have each winner getting a unique experience, or a group of products that would be tiered maybe. So 1 through 5, number 1 would get the biggest package, and number 4 and 5 would get the least, but still awesome package. That's the idea. Okay, now number 3 NFT type would be event tickets. This is where let's say you're going on a tour and you have 30 dates in the United States, and you could sell NFTs that are tickets to, let's say you buy an NFT and it gets you into any 5 of those 30 dates anywhere in the United States. So that's interesting, right? It's not just one ticket for one date. It gives you flexibility, and it also gives inherent value that you could sell. So let's say I purchase one of the NFTs. I go to your show in San Francisco, and I'm planning on going to the one in Minneapolis, but something comes up, I can't go. I could actually sell that ticket to somebody else, and they could go to the remaining shows that are on that list. In that case, in this example, there are 4 more left. They would be able to go to 4 shows. So it's interesting in that you personally, as a buyer of a NFT, don't have to use up all of the value that's there, which is cool. And one of the things that you would do in this case is go to the event, and I go to the show, and I would basically, on my phone, I would bring up my NFT wallet, and they would scan in the individual code that's associated with that NFT, and they would go, yes, that matches. They let me in, and on their side, their app or whatever system they're using would then have to write that information to the blockchain to show that the state had changed for that given NFT, that some of the rights that were associated with it have been utilized. All right. So this is a really good example of an ongoing utility that you can get with NFTs that can hold value for quite some time. Also, if there's artwork associated with the NFT, again, someone can use that to flex a bit about how they're participating in their favorite artist's work. Now, I will go through a couple of these. Everyone can get access to a single event, so it can be as simple as a normal ticket. You can get access to multiple events, like I explained the first example, and then everyone gets access to X number of events in a certain time period. So to just take that example that I gave you one step further, let's say you can go to 10 shows, but you would have to do that in the first 6 months or something like that. Or maybe it's not necessarily tied specifically to this given tour, but within 3 years, I can get into any show that you do anywhere. So it could be different promoters, it could be different venues, it could be different formats, all that kind of stuff. But after a certain time period, then those benefits would go away. All right. And then the fourth is a membership NFT. So And like I said, just remember, a lot of these can overlap and you could do all of this in one NFT series. But again, that's a bit more complex than we wanted to cover. I really wanted to try to break these up into bite-sized chunks so that we can understand them. So for a membership NFT, we'd be looking at holders, they would be getting an ongoing VIP experience. Now, let's say you have a lot of maybe you're a music person and you actually give master classes for other musicians. Well, you could have that be live or virtual, which is cool. So those are the kind of what we're looking at here is the virtual experience or the real world experience. Could be mixed. It could be both live, come to the in New York, I'm doing a live one, but you could also do stuff online as well. And you could also get access to digital or physical goods. So when I say digital goods, it may be, let's say I get access to a pre-recorded masterclass and I get to go through that material, as opposed to it being more a live thing. Or it could be group coaching as part of the membership. And maybe there are 100 people that have the NFTs that show up for monthly group coaching that you do. And it's just whoever happens to show up that month on the Zoom call or whatever, you're going to give them your best information. So that's an example of a membership. There are a lot of opportunities there, possibilities. Let's say you're an author and you could do, part of the membership is that you have a Q&A on a monthly basis that's a Zoom call, and all of your fans can get on there and ask about questions that they have about their favorite characters or about loose ends that never got tied up in a certain book, or what's coming next. What are the projects that you're currently working on? What's coming in the future? That kind of thing. So that would be an example of an ongoing experience that fans could really participate with you. That's outside the purview of buying the normal products that you make, like in that case a book, or musicians making tracks, or an artist is making individual pieces of visual art. All right. And then the last one here is equity participation. Now this is huge, okay? This is where the buyer of an NFT could act like a label, or a record label, or a record company, or a recording company, a publisher, a movie studio, a producer. That's like they're taking over that role, and they're essentially buying up front, helping you fund actually getting a project done. And that may be a film that you're making. It may be a new album that you're going to launch. And for that, especially if these NFTs are high ticket items, they could be, $5,000 a piece, right? You're making a movie, you need millions of dollars to go out there and do that. Well, they would be doing that to be a patron of the arts, but also be able to have earning power on the back end. Now, typically in this situation, you would do it where you would do this where the artists themselves, that are the ones who are doing the long, hard work, especially, let's say, making a movie. It might be writing a script, it might be amassing all of the resources, doing the filming, doing the editing, et cetera, right? That's a lot of work. It can take a lot of time. For that work, the artist would retain, the largest percentage of the sale rights or royalty rights if it goes to streaming on Netflix or something like that. But the people who helped out with the NFT purchases would be still maybe splitting 5, 10, 25%, depending on the type of project that they're doing and the amount of money that you needed up front. And this is pretty cool because if you compare this to a record company, number one, a record company, if they pay you up front to go make a record, they call it an advance. They're not actually just paying you outright. So let's say it's $100,000. and they pay $50,000 for another $100,000. Make it super simple math. Another $100,000 for the studio time, the engineer, and the producer to be there for the 3 weeks it's going to take you to record all of that. Okay, $200,000. They're not just doing that out of their goodwill. What's going to happen when they start selling your music is that you won't see any royalties until they recoup, until they get back all of that $200,000 they put up front. Okay, and then at that point, you might be lucky to get 10, 20%, depending on how. So after you pay that back, then you're only getting a small percentage of the streaming or whatever, however it's being monetized. In this scenario, though, for the equity participation NFT, it's flipped. Okay, so number one, when you start earning on the streaming of the movie or the music or the sales of the book that you wrote, the artist is going to immediately earn royalties. They're not having to pay the money back for the NFTs, number one. Number two, they're maybe making 80% and 20% is being split to the NFT holders. All right. And now this is really cool too, because let's say I'm one of those people that was a patron of yours and I bought the NFT and for $1,000, and in 5 years it went up to worth $10,000, and I made a little bit of money, off of the monetization of the product that you created. There's value in that, and I can sell that NFT for quite a premium because it's not just what the value is necessarily today, just the market value, but there's also a speculative value of what that could bring over the future. So if an artist really pops, if all of a sudden they become the next big thing, those NFTs that I purchased at the beginning are going to, naturally rise in value. And so I can, again, choose to make money in the long term by the royalty rights, the percentage of the equity that I get as a holder, or, cash out now and someone else can go earn that. Just a pretty cool situation. Now, of course, I shared what all the great possibilities are, but let's just jump back over here on our little screen and look. So, number one, the holder gets intellectual property license for XYZ use, so not necessarily every potential use out there. Yeah, I can get equity participation in streaming, but I can't get equity participation in when, let's say, a song is licensed to be used on a TV show. The artist might get paid that, and I wouldn't necessarily get that as the holder. So it's not necessarily all rights. It could be some rights that I have equity participation in. Okay, it could be over a time window. So after 20 years, now the artist is going to earn 100% and not 80%. It could, of course, be for all time. Like I could just, as long as that work that's tied to the NFTs is making money, the holders are making money. And what is really interesting here too is that the Mint wallet, the wallet where the NFTs were minted, it's the address where money goes. It's the conduit into the smart contract where the equity split occurs automatically according to the code that was written initially for the NFT. Now you can see, here we are in phase 5, and all of a sudden I'm talking about a lot of complexity, okay? So don't get frightened right now by what you're looking at here, okay? Because we're starting all the way up here at phase 1, simple art purchase, where they're really just, they're loving the art and they want to help you as an artist, okay? I would suggest that you start with 1 or 2 as kind of a way to dip your toes into the water of NFTs. But just know that over time, we're going to get into some pretty amazing things and amazing possibilities. And this is just, I think, the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to come. I will eventually probably have a 6 through 10 for you, but for now, I thought this was a good bite-sized topic for us to cover in a good 30 minutes here on this live stream. And hopefully this helps you see a little bit more about where we are with NFTs and kind of how early you still are, okay? Now I've seen some event ticket NFTs and I've seen some membership NFTs, and there are a few that are doing a fantastic job. I would say that when the higher you go up this list, the more utility that you're seeing in the NFT. It's not just specifically about the consuming of the product itself, the art, or owning of the art. It has to do with participation, and it has to do with utility and benefits. All right. So that's what I wanted to cover today. Like I said, I could we could go so deep dive into each one of these items that I listed over on the right hand column. You know, I could probably do a good 45 minutes to 60 minutes on each one of those, but I wanted to make this digestible for you, especially if you're new to the whole NFT space. And I also want you to be able to share these videos and the content I'm creating with others. And you know, I want, again, something to be super simple for you to kind of get people on board. So let's say you're in a band and there are 5 of you, and you know, you've started to go down this rabbit hole of learning about blockchain and NFT and Web3 and all of this wonderful stuff that is just now becoming available. And you get the glazed look over the eyes when you start talking about this stuff with your bandmates. You know, you need to be able to share with them, you know, simple videos, and maybe this 30-minute video is not simple enough. Maybe they need to take some more bite-sized stuff on some of the other formats that we're doing on, you know, Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that we're starting. So again, we want to have these little entry points. So it's not just for you necessarily. You may get it. You may understand. You may be just jumping out of your seat and super excited about, you know, getting, you know, all the way up to number 5 here as fast as possible. But you're going to need people on your team that also get it, because this is not something that you want to try to do alone. All right, you've got enough to do, right? You've got your art to create. So this is totally worthwhile, and I think that, you know, learning about marketing and everything like that is smart. If you're an artist, you're also a business person, and if you're not, someone else is controlling the purse strings and your accounts, and you have no idea if you're even getting the money you're supposed to be getting. And with all the middlemen in place, that, you know, you've got to trust a manager, you've got to trust your accountants, you've got to trust the A&R guys and you know, the book publishers and the gallery owners, and, you know, I mean, there's so many different, the ticket master and you know, the concert promoter, all of those people, right? They need to be in your camp and understand what you're trying to do with NFTs as well, because like I said, the example with event tickets, there's some tech that's got to go on there so those event tickets can be properly scanned and you can keep track of who has used what benefits. So they're going to have to buy into what it is that you're trying to do. That's it for today. I'm happy to be here on a daily basis, you know, helping us all have a phenomenal future of art and prosperity. And you're my phenoms, and I love you. I think we're going to have a fantastic just growth for all of us. And yeah, let's help each other win out there. So until tomorrow, I will say good night.